Welcome back. At the stroke of midnight on January the 1st, 1.3 million Estonians bid farewell to the kroon. That's the currency adopted in 1992 to replace the Soviet ruble. And then more recently, Estonia became the 17th member of the Eurozone, the first former Soviet state to join the Eurozone. And it also becomes its poorest member too, but they'll be hoping to improve on that. But anyway, with the euro arguably still in deep trouble, is this the best time to join the club? Joining me now from Tallinn is Estonian President Ilves. Well, this is a vital moment in the history of your country. How would you characterize the mood of the people with the news of what happened on January the 1st?
I would say that the general mood is of quiet optimism. We never get very emotional here. And I guess for those people who have never used the euro, they're getting used to it. Pensioners are going to the banks to get their money, and I guess younger people have had more experience with the euro and having traveled all over Europe are taking it in stride. It's not as big a deal for them. But in general, as I said, it's quiet optimism, and as with most things, Estonians don't get overly emotional about
I see, Mr. President. And what about the particular timing of this event? Is this, in terms of the problems that the euro is facing at the moment, is this the right moment? Is it the best possible moment or not to join the euro?
I should stress here that the problems are not with the euro. The problems are with certain countries in the eurozone or with countries that use the euro. The euro itself is a perfectly good, in fact, probably I would argue, the best currency in the world today.
The best currency in the world today, and yet there are people, Mr. President, who think that the euro may fail following what's happened in Greece and Ireland and so on and so forth. But you think that's nonsense, do you?
I don't see the euro failing. I could say that there are countries for whom the euro is a very difficult currency to use. But I cannot see those countries that have opted for fiscal rectitude, the countries whose deficits are within a 3% bounds, countries that have not over-borrowed themselves. Why should they suffer? I don't see them giving up, for us today, giving up the euro because there are countries that have not played by the rules.
At the same time, of course, you've got a situation where you mentioned Germany there. This is probably not the perfect example, but you, as the smallest country, could be bailing out Germany or bailing out Spain, more possibly. It's an odd situation with a population of a little over 1 million that you could be helping to bail out Spain, say.
Well, it only looks that way. I mean, the worst that could happen is that we'd provide a loan. We would be among the many countries offering a loan, which would be, of course, paid back and with interest. So it's not as dire as it seems. It's just that I guess the worst case scenario is that we would have to kick into a loan fund, but we would be in the position of a lender.
What do you think is the best thing, in a sentence or two, what's the best thing you and the people of Estonia are going to get out of this new and indeed exciting development? What's the best thing, the best advantage that's coming your way?
In the short term, confidence and stability, in that people believe in the euro around the world, and they didn't really know our currency very well, so that means investor confidence and so forth. In the long term, I would say that the meeting the fiscal straitjacket of Euro membership, is that what will provide for growth for all of Europe, certainly in our case, having the highest growth rate in Europe today as a result of following very sound fiscal policies in order to meet the euro, means that we will have the highest growth in 2011, and as we had the highest growth in 2010.
And what about back in 2007, we had that early cyber war involving Estonia, your country, as the victim. And do you know now, do you know for sure who perpetrated that cyber war on Estonia?
Well, as with the kind of attack, a DDoS or distributed denial of service attack, which is a fairly common form of attacking websites, you never know exactly who did because they use robot computers from all over the world. You just have to draw a correlation between what's going on in your country and who would have an interest in doing things. I mean, we saw the WikiLeaks sites be taken down just a few weeks ago by presumably people who don't like WikiLeaks, and you saw people who supported WikiLeaks have their websites taken down. You can never pinpoint exactly who is doing it, but you can make some fair assumptions.
And of course, Estonia is, as people have said, now the poorest country in the Eurozone and so on. Will that change? Do you think you will move up the list, move up the charts?
Everywhere I read, yes, the poorest country in the Eurozone. This is true. We have the lowest GDP per capita of the Eurozone, but the Eurozone is not a poor man's club.
Very well put. Very well put, and we hope it never will be indeed. Mr. President, we thank you very much for your wise words here today, and we look forward to talking again. And Happy New Year. All the best.
Happy New Year. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And now from Estonia to Egypt. The suicide bomb attack on New Year's Day, which killed 21 Coptic Christians at their church in Alexandria in Egypt, has brought into sharp focus not only the religious tensions but also political tensions in the country. The parliamentary elections last month left President Hosni Mubarak's ruling National Democratic Party with more than 80% of the seats, which doesn't leave very much space for an effective opposition party. Human rights groups in Egypt monitored the election and say, quite simply, the elections were rigged, from top to bottom. Sami of the Cairo Institute for Human Rights Studies, one of those groups which monitored the elections, joins me now from the Egyptian capital of Cairo. Sally, welcome. You presumably one of those people who came to that conclusion that these elections were rigged.
Yes, we actually came to that conclusion before the elections started. A group of human rights organizations came out with a statement nearly a month before the election saying that the elections will be rigged simply because the political environment and social environment that was being established just prior to the elections was one that can never allow for free and fair elections.
And in fact, in the previous elections under the regime of President Mubarak, was the situation the same, or was this one worse? Was this one more serious, do you think?
I think this one is more serious in terms of its timing in history. Egypt is going through a political transition. We have an aging president. Everyone is speculating what the future is going to be looking like. So I guess this round of elections was quite key to try and identify what the future is going to be like for Egypt.
And in fact, at this situation with the things like the Coptic tragedy and so on, you have a turmoil in the political area, as you were just talking about, and there's turmoil in the area of the Christian place in Egypt and so on. Is there any link between the two? Is there any coincidence between the two?
There is a link in the sense that it is a kind of a reflection of what it means to be monopolized by a one-party system, one party throughout this regime's history in Egypt, one that does not reflect the varieties within Egypt, the different sectors, one that does not necessarily meet the needs of all those sectors. Of course, Christians have been demanding for ages, for years and years, to be treated on an equal footing to the rest of the Egyptians, but they kept failing.
And do you think this election was the most corrupt election they've had in Egypt, or is it just par for the course?
It is, in a way, part of the course, but it is exceptionally corrupt. I think the images that were recorded on mobile phones in all polling stations, the level of rigging and forging was beyond imagination. I don't think it's something that we've expected, to be honest. We assumed it will go smoothly to a certain extent. But of course, it was a very corrupt electoral process, and also it is not only about the election day or voting day itself. It's about creating that situation when people are not involved in the political discourse, people are not voicing their concerns. There is no political debate between political parties that can actually create political agendas that can find solutions for the needs of the people in Egypt.
And what is the situation of what should happen next, in your view, and what will happen next, also in your view? In a pessimistic way, I would assume that the government will be trying to calm things down without actually dealing with the real issue at hand when it comes to the sectarian tensions in Egypt. What should happen is actually we need reform on all levels. We need recognition that there are problems in Egypt. We need to deal with these problems. We need a free space for political debate. We need an environment that can allow for different political parties and different individuals to come forward with ideas without having to face any problems or persecution as a result. We need a space where we can freely assemble peacefully in the street without having to be beaten up by security. We need free media. We need a better education, an education that does not intensify the discrimination against Christians. There's a whole spectrum of issues that this country needs to deal with, but there needs to begin with, there needs to be a real political will. And so in conclusion, really, though you've quoted all these things that have worked out wrong or rigged or whatever, we still get a picture of the fact that Egypt is a sort of peaceful country in a way, despite recent riots connected with the Coptic Christians and so on. I mean, is Egypt a nice place to live?
Egypt is a lovely place to live overall, but not if you're poor, not if you're from a minority group, not if you're from a religious sect. Now, I mean, we're talking about Christians today, but there are other religious sects that are extremely discriminated against. They are arrested, tortured at state security. So if you are an upper middle class citizen, it's definitely a lovely place to be in.
Well, I don't know whether you class yourself an upper-class citizen, but certainly it's a pleasure to have you with us, and we thank you for that picture of Egypt today. Very, very educational, all of that. Thank you very much indeed. Sally, thanks a million.
Thank you.
He was once Bobby Kennedy's campaign aide and the mayor of Cincinnati. Then he moved on to host one of America's most controversial, to put it mildly, TV shows. It became what they call in TV a ratings buster, and was sold around the world and criticised in most of it at the same time. This year it's celebrating its 20th anniversary. It's the Jerry Springer Show, and Jerry is with me now. Jerry, welcome. Very good.
Great to be with you, David.
Very good to have you with us. Reading the things that people write about you, they picture you really as two men in one, really. The star, the host of the Jerry Springer Show, and which you on occasion said it's a crazy show and all that sort of thing. No. And then your thoughts about politics and your thoughts about whether you might go back to politics, and your liberal your liberal approach on the issues and so on and so forth, and that's the sort of literate, thoughtful figure that's sitting in front of me now, and that's a completely different person to the host of the Jerry Springer Show, isn't it?
But aren't we all really like that? In other words, we all have different facets to our personality, and you behave differently when you're with your friends out on a Friday night than you do if you go to church Sunday morning, or so that's, I don't think that's so uncommon. I'm hired to do to host a crazy talk show, and so when I'm on the talk show, I act appropriately for that environment. But if I'm,
you said it's a stupid show, and I've never said anything else.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And that, so
20 years of stupid now.
Yeah.
We're starting to get the kids of our original guests on the show, which is wrong because these people were told not to procreate, and they just go out and have kids. What's that about? There's no excuse.
But I mean, in terms of the changes over the years, the Jerry Springer Show, I suppose, is less controversial now than it was at the beginning. But is that because you've changed, or the show's changed, or have we, the audience, changed and become more inured to shocking material?
Well, I think the media has changed.
Yeah.
I think the world has always had its element of craziness. I mean, people that say, oh my gosh, things are horrible now, obviously didn't live through a Holocaust, world wars and all. So we have had much worse times than we're having now. I think what has happened is that the media has become more invasive and more pervasive as well. And as a result, we see a lot more things on television that we used to not see. It's not that our behavior has changed, it's our coverage of the behavior has changed. When I first started the show 20 years ago, I remember we did a show on interracial dating. And I'm telling you, there were protesters outside the studio. 20 years later, we have a president who is the product of an interracial marriage. So, you know, boy, things have changed in terms of our attitude towards it.
Politics is very much your subject, and the mayor of Cincinnati and all of that and so on. You supported, well, originally you were supporting Hillary Clinton, weren't you?
Yes.
Then you supported Barack Obama very strongly.
Yes.
Have you been more than satisfied or not by his performance to date?
I like the things he's doing. Do I wish he were more successful? Yes, but other people get to vote too. And in the United States Congress, the Republicans are not in support of what the president's doing, and they're able to block a lot of what he wants to get done. So overall, am I happy with Barack Obama? Absolutely. Could there be things done better? Of course.
Would you be tempted to go back into politics yourself?
I'm probably a little old by now. You know, I'm next month's going to be 67. By the time I ever got seniority, let's say in the Senate or Congress, I'd be in my 80s, and I think not too effective by then. So it's unlikely. I don't ever want to say no, because if tomorrow some situation came up, you know, that may change, but probably not.
But, and in terms of from all those splendid headlines of items on the show and so on, wives battle mistresses, midget holiday hell. And
oh, that was a beauty.
That was a big one, wasn't it? Small people, but big one.
Yeah.
I refuse to wear clothes. I married my horse, and what wonderful titles like memorable. Would you actually rather have done a political and more serious show, or are you content with what to do your politics on the side?
Well, the show is my job. That's what I'm hired to do.
Yeah.
Is this the show that if they came to me and said, Jerry, do whatever you'd like to do. Well, no, I do a show on things that I'm interested in, which are political things. I like sports. I mean, so I have different interests, but that's not my job. They hire me to host a show about outrageous people or outrageous behavior. So I know going in when I go to work, this is what I'm going to cover. But is this my interest? I don't watch the show. But it's not aimed at me. It's not aimed at 60-something-year-old men. You know, it's aimed at the college kids. And if I were younger, would I watch it? I guess so. It would be fun.
I was fascinated reading about, I hadn't registered the fact that you were born, remarkably, you were born in Britain, in England.
Yeah, I was born in London, and I was born actually in a train station, because I was born during the war. And the train station.
In the waiting room, was it, or?
No, in the Highgate station, because the train stations were bomb shelters. So women in their 9th month would spend, many of them would spend their nights sleeping in the subways because that's where the shelters were. And I was born 11:45 at night. So yeah, so every time I hear a train go by, I go, I get real nervous. Yeah.
And the other thing, of course, was what you discovered when you appeared on that on the show about Who Do You Think You Are?
Yeah.
That was a discovery that stayed with you, I sense, ever since.
Yeah, I had lost my family in the Holocaust, and so we always knew that everyone in the family had been exterminated, but we never knew which camps they died in, or what exactly happened, how they died, what dates, etc. You know, what experiments they did on them. And because of this show, Who Do You Think You Are, and the BBC, they had such great research that they discovered. So we found out what happened to every one of my relatives, and it was staggering.
And your maternal grandmother and your
I lost my grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins. We lost 27 relatives in the camps.
And that's made you say on occasion the main thing you would like to happen was to find a way of stopping that ever happening again.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. But it's that experience, in a sense, I think has been at the basis of my liberalism, because what that teaches you is you never judge people based on what they are. You only judge people based on what they do. 6 million people were exterminated because of what they were. They just happened to have been born Jewish, not because they did anything wrong. Just they were Jewish, therefore you die. And that lesson can be to all kinds of discrimination we have. So I think that helped make me a liberal.
Absolutely, and because the word liberal has meant so many different things in America, hasn't it? It's a simple word here, and it's a simple word in Australia, but it causes all sorts of reverberations in America.
Now liberals like to call themselves progressives. But no, I'm liberal, and I'm proud of it. Not to say that liberals don't make mistakes, of course, but they always seem to be mistakes of the heart. You know, maybe there's a program that didn't do what it was supposed to do, but that's not based on any selfishness or it's, you know, how can we help you? Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. So if you just start with that equation and stop trying to hurt people so that someone else can improve, you know, just give everyone a shot. And I think the purpose of government is to make sure, other than protecting people, to make sure that everyone has a shot in the world. Everyone has a chance of having a happy life.
And so what would you like to achieve in the many years you have left? I mean, you want to do this, you signed on for at least another 4 years of the talk show?
Yeah, the show's my job, so I have no ambitions in terms of my career. Look, I've been lucky. You know, my God, I've been lucky. I don't need to work. I just enjoy it. So I'll keep doing that. But, you know, obviously I spend time with my family, but also to do some political things, even if it's not running for office, just to keep supporting the causes I support. That's what I'd like to do.
How many shows have there been so far of the Jerry Springer Show?
Pretty close to 4,000.
Pretty close to 4,000.
Yeah. Now, I do this other show in the States as well. It's a nightly dating show called Baggage, where the contestants come on looking for a date, but they reveal their baggage, those things that maybe would make you think twice about going out with them. And that's a nightly show, and it's kind of funny. It's going to be starting here in England as well, in Great Britain.
Thanks a million for being with us,
It's an honor to be with you again.
It's a delight to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Delight. Well, that's it for this week. Until then, as Jerry himself says, that's really your slogan, actually, isn't it? Take care of yourselves and each other. Isn't it? Well said. Take care of yourselves and each other. From us all here. Bye-bye.